You are listening to Belly Birth Beyond with Pelvic Floor Mama. I'm your host, Becca Boving, pelvic rehab certified coach and mom of two. Welcome to the safe space where no topics of motherhood are off limits and judgment is left at the door. Too many mamas are dismissed when they've got valid concerns. If you're sick of hearing that's normal when it feels otherwise, keep listening. Welcome back to Belly Birth Beyond. I am so excited for today's episode. We have Sex Coach Kaci here with us, and I will let her introduce herself and kind of share a little bit about what she does and who she helps. I think this is going to be a really valuable and maybe like very informative because it's not what you think. However, if you do have young ones and you don't want them listening in, then maybe save this for a different time. But go ahead and Kaci, go ahead and share who you are, who you help, and let's start there.
Hi, everyone. I am Sex Coach Kaci or Kaci Mial. I am a certified sex coach, educator, researcher. I'm also trained as a yoga instructor and teach infant massage. But really, my specialty is working with parents and families and really aiming to increase overall wellness, right? So, Becca, I work with people who are trying to conceive, pregnant, and postpartum, like I know you do with pelvic floor. And actually, a lot of the clients that I have absolutely need to see a pelvic floor therapist or a specialist because that's a big thing that comes up. But I like that you said this isn't what you think because I don't only talk about sex. Honestly, it comes down to intimacy, communication, doing a lot of work behind the scenes that can be actually kind of boring and not as spicy as you would think, like, oh, lingerie and lube and sex positions and kink. It is that. I love talking about that too, but it's a lot of deeper work that I do with my clients. So I'm happy to be here. I'm ready to dive into it.
I am so excited because I feel like after having, especially there's so many different parts of it, right? Like there's pregnant moms who are like, I don't want you to touch me. I'm not interested. Or it's opposite where they want their partner to be intimate with them and their partner's like, no, thanks. I'm not really interested. Like and there's like that lack of communication of like, and then they feel like the woman feels like something's wrong. Like, is it because I'm pregnant? Is it because my body's changing? And then you become so insecure almost. And like, I just wanted this pregnancy, but now my husband is like, or my significant other, like, there's that disconnect. So it's so great that you are someone that can help during pregnancy and even postpartum, because there's so many moms too who are like, I don't ever want to think about that again.
I know. Exactly what you just said is probably the most common issue is these desire differences, right? It's like one person wants it, one person doesn't, or you both don't want it. The people that both want it and are both finding the time to do it, those aren't the people that come to see me, right? They're like, they're living their best sex lives. But that I would say is really actually a minority of people. I think most people do have some changes postpartum and pregnancy because you think about it, your body's changing, your emotions are all over the place. And I didn't mention in my intro, but I am in the thick of it myself. I am a mama of a almost three-nager, so she'll be 3 November 23rd, depending on when folks are listening to this. I might be in the 3 zone by then. And I have a 6-month-old. And the two of them keep me so busy. My body is completely different than it used to be. My time is completely different than it used to be. I don't have time to be barely even washing my hair during the week, let alone, prepping for some fancy date. Although, it is important. So I do talk about how do you still prioritize that stuff and connection with yourself and a partner, even when you don't have the time, even when you're sleep deprived like me. And yeah, all of the things.
Yeah, being a three-nager is so true. Like everyone talks about the 2s, but can we talk about the 3s? That's for a different time. So let's start with pregnancy then. Like what would you tell somebody or how would you help someone through like pregnancy if let's say they are interested, but their partner's not really? I know there can be fears of like harming the baby or just there's this disconnect sometimes that occurs during pregnancy.
For sure. There's actually a fabulous not podcast, but a TED Talk that if people are interested in learning more, Dr. Sophia Jaweed Wessel is maybe a link I can give, and this was years ago, but she talks about the fears during pregnancy and thinking about how do you navigate this time as a sexual person. And one of the fears that comes up a lot is from the partner, in the sense of, will I hurt the baby? And I want to just assure you now, this is a quick thing I can tell you. One thing to take off your worry list is that no, you will not. Sex is generally safe during pregnancy unless you are put on pelvic rest by that would be from likely a medical provider tells you that. And that could be from various reasons if you're at higher risk for things like placenta previa, or if you have a high risk of preterm birth, or you have a cerclage, things like that. If none of that applies to you, you're likely good to go with sex during pregnancy. And the other piece of information I can give you is there is a lot of separation between where the baby or fetus is growing in the
Yeah.
body and where a penis, a finger, a toy is getting inserted into the vagina, right? If you think of that, I wish I had a beautiful like uterus model here, but we'll pretend is that let's pretend this is the uterus and baby's inside here, nice and cozy. You have all of the amniotic fluid, you have the amniotic sac, you have the cervix, which is a nice cushion between all of that and the vagina. So there is no way that anything is ever going to touch your growing precious child. It's just not physiologically possible, So you can rest assured that unless you've been told any of those things, sex is good to go.
Do you see a lot of that through pregnancy, or do you see more like postpartum after children? Because that's a whole different ballgame.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I see it both, right? Like, I can just give you a personal quick anecdote for myself. Sex during pregnancy, even though I have all this information, right? I did not feel up to it. We did not have sex for months at times because I was going through hyperemesis. So I
Oh,
was
yes.
nauseous, I was vomiting, I was pooping. I was like, I had an IV in my
Yeah.
arm at one point. I had needles in my belly, and people, not everyone goes through that, but even generally just feeling sick or not like yourself or
Yeah,
sweaty
definitely.
or big or whatever. It's a lot going on. So I definitely do see it during pregnancy. And then in postpartum, like you said, it's a whole nother ballgame. You think about the changes your body goes through, like you're bleeding, you have lochia and all of the things. You might be wearing, I know I was wearing the mesh underwear. And
Oh,
whether
yeah.
you've had a belly birth or a vaginal birth, it doesn't really matter. Like your body's going through something.
Yeah, for sure. Those granny panties are lifesavers.
They are. They are. I had the ice packs were my favorite thing ever. For me personally, I loved ice packs and all of the things. So yeah, give yourself time to heal. And I think people really underestimate that, Becca. Like they really think that at that 6 week mark, you're going to walk into your provider and they're going to say, "Oh yeah, you're all cleared for sex." And then the partner's like, "Oh yeah, I've been waiting." Like,
Yeah.
especially if
Yeah.
you're like my partner who was already waiting months to,
Yeah.
from no sex in pregnancy. And it's hard. I admit that I think there is a lack of understanding from both the person who's giving birth and the partners. And a lot of times we don't think about that partner perspective either. Mostly because I work with moms and people who are like me who are like, yeah, like I can't even think about somebody touching me right now. But there is, if we take a second to think about, compassion for partners who are also navigating this with us, it can be challenging for them too. And I know what I've heard from couples that I've worked with is sometimes the partner is confused a little bit, right? They want to support us, but aren't sure how. It's like, okay, if I if I try to initiate something, I might get rejected. And if I don't initiate anything, then it's like, wait, you're not attracted to me anymore, right? So, how do we find the balance and how do we communicate really is what it comes down to, where we're at from both sides. And then if we don't have a partner, because I work with some single mamas or solo parents too, then how are we reconnecting with ourselves and how are we building the support systems that we need to really thrive as much as possible during this time?
Yeah, no, that's great. So what would something be, what would you give somebody who like they're not up for sex yet? And whether they're pregnant, postpartum, whatever, what is a way that they could still have that like connection or intimacy with their partner that they may not think of?
Mhm. Non-sexual intimacy is my absolute favorite thing to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
It's where you start. Aside from self-pleasure and self-care and just generally taking a shower or eating nutritious food, making sure you're drinking water. I always say if you're in a bad spot, whether you're pregnant or postpartum or whatever, go back to basics first. And then once you're looking to do something with a partner, right?
Yeah.
Connect in some way. Like there might be this even if it's the smallest feeling of like, I just want to connect with them again. Then you're going to start with that non sexual intimacy, and building emotional intimacy first is huge. Having a solid foundation of like, hey, I trust this person. I feel grateful for this person. I just like them. I want to be their friend, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that all is stuff we usually forget about. I can say I'm guilty because it's like, oh, well, you have a crying baby and you're navigating all the other stuff we talked about. And then you have this person, you're like, but I don't want to really be your friend right now. You know? So it's hard. But the like some very specific ways you can do this are start by having a conversation about it, or start by doing things like watching a show together. Watch 15 minutes of a show or 30 minutes of a show if you can. Other things you can do are talk in the car. This is actually my favorite because you're stuck there already, right? You have
You're
some place to
stuck.
go. you're, you're you're stuck next to them. So why not get a quick conversation in? And it doesn't have to be about the kids. It doesn't have to be about anything related to that. Just talk about the Gottman Institute actually has really good tips for this. I can also give you a resource so people have questions to ask. But it's
Yeah.
called Building Love Maps.
Okay.
And so there's many versions of this. You might have heard of like the 36 question game or 21 questions or love maps from the Gottman Institute. And essentially all it is asking the people in your life close to you. You can even do this with kids actually. Like I do this with my toddler, and we actually made it a fun game when baby girl arrived, when the 6 month old, was a newborn. I
Yeah.
included my toddler too, and so we were in the car on a long road trip or even just to the pediatrician, and you're going to go down this list of questions or come up with some of your own. And it's things like, what are your favorite color? What are your biggest fears in life? What was the best thing to happen to you today? What is your favorite food right now? Or have you listened to a podcast lately, or music, or listened to that audiobook? Have you had anything that you're looking forward to coming up? Or what's the most challenging thing for you right now? Those are all examples of quick questions you can do. Um, and the reason why this works is because you're not only practicing your communication skills, but you're learning about that other person's world that we tend to, if you've ever heard of like that roommate phase, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
You
for
get
sure.
stuck. You get stuck a lot of times in this, okay, we have to get the daily tasks done. And we don't always take the time to remember what's fun about that person or what we like about that person and what they're going through. So that's where I would start. Now, to spice things up real quick, right? Because you're like, how does that have anything to do with sex? It does, because again, you're depositing positive things into your emotional bank account. And then what I would encourage you to do is move a little bit closer to sexy things, but not quite. You can do things like cuddle naked next to each other instead of giving yourself the pressure of being like, oh, we have to go to bed. And when we go to bed, we're going to have sex. No,
Yeah.
you can just be like, hey, Friday night, like once the kids are in bed, we're both going to hop in bed and just cuddle naked, go to sleep naked next to each other without the expectation that anything will happen. And then if it does happen, great. But if not, it's no harm, no foul, right? Like you
Yeah.
still get that good
Yep.
oxytocin, skin to skin bonding. You could get a shower together. You can give each other a quick massage. That could be clothed or not. Like even a nice shoulder rub would be great.
I was going to say, when you said massage, my head does not go there.
Yeah. I'm like, just getting that touch going is great. It's perfect. Holding hands, a hug from behind. I imagine like being in the kitchen and like your partner just coming up and just giving you a squeeze or a smack on the butt. Getting that playfulness back is so important. And you don't have to have sex to do those things, right?
And I love that you were talking about challenges too, because at least, and I'm sure my husband loves that I have a podcast and I share our personal information now, but I feel like, especially, I just like expect my challenges to be his challenges in a way, like, oh, I don't feel that that's challenging. So I'm going to move on. And it's so different for what our partners are going through and what they, like the pressures maybe that are being put on them, or I just whatever they're feeling, we probably might not know if we're not asking or we're not having those communications and those conversations. So I loved that you touched on that, because at least for me, that is something that I need to be better with. Is I may not find things to be challenging, but that doesn't mean that he does the same thing. That doesn't mean he feels the same way. And so that's been really helpful to just have those conversations of, how can I support you, or how can I help you, or what are some things that you're struggling with, even if it's work related, like get it off your chest, So I think that's really important. And that emotional connection is so true, because if you've ever, like, maybe you've been in the mood and then all of a sudden your partner says something or does something and you're like, nope, not happening. You're like, that is
Yeah.
that emotional connection. So even if you're not like, like you're doing these small little acts so that way you can feel closer to your partner again. And especially in those sleep deprived months or years. In the thick of motherhood, of the days of not wanting to be touched ever again, all of those things, it can be really hard to feel connected and not go through that like roommate phase.
Totally. And as you're talking, Becca, I thought of two more things that I would recommend people do. You need to do what is it called? A chore list. I'm totally having mom brain right now of what exactly it's called. A chore audit.
Oh, okay.
Like a
Yeah.
household labor division talk. Literally write down all of the things, or you can Google this, like the chore audit, and there's so many different checklists. It doesn't have to be a certain one. Or you could just write down on a piece of paper everything that's needed to get done in a day or a week, right? Because I'm thinking of you just gave an example of they said something and then like totally off the table. I thought of what turns me off is if I have an expectation of like, oh, I need you to wash the bottles, or I need you to help me
Yeah.
take out the trash, or make sure the house is
Yes.
clean at the end of the night. If all of that falls on me, then by the time I'm going to bed, I'm ready for bed.
Oh
Like
yeah, for sure.
it's
You're done.
not going to be
It's
anything
out.
else
Yep.
going on. But if you can manage, dividing the household task or the children task or whatever it is, it never has to be 50-50, but make sure that there are things that both partners understand can be done
Yeah.
and actually that has a huge impact on sex. The second thing is I have a free guide. It's called the Ultimate Postpartum Intimacy Prep Guide, and in there I have literal checklists of questions you need to ask like immediately.
Yeah. No,
um,
seriously.
Questions for your provider about sex, questions for yourself about sex, and are you ready for it? Even self pleasure, where to start, and then questions for your partner. So it's called the Yes List, and it gives you things to think about, like, are there body parts that are off limits for me right now? Or what are three things that I need to feel in the mood for sexy time?
Yeah.
And what are three things that I can give right now? And you would be surprised, maybe, you think your partner isn't into sex at all because they're thinking of like this whole big marathon shebang.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're like, oh, well, maybe if we just have like a quickie or something, that's on the table. But 2 hours, like we don't have time for that. So you find out new things just by doing that.
Oh, yes. And I love that you brought up like expectations, because that's like our biggest and this is more so my husband saying this too. It's like when we don't discuss our expectations, then that's when we're like frustrated or we get like upset or, that's when conflict, I can't find words either, mom brain over here. It's not just pregnancy brain, y'all. It's mom brain. It just sticks with you forever, I
It
swear.
continues. Yeah, it
It just
continues
sticks
a long
forever.
time.
Yeah. I'll let you know if I ever get out of it. I'm like 2.5 years almost.
Thank you.
But it's like that expectations. And if you don't discuss your expectation, how does your partner know? Or if they don't discuss their expectations with you, how do you know? And this is something my husband's like, yeah, you suck at that. Cause I do. Like, this is where I really struggle, is that communication, that expectation aspect. But if you like have expectations of like, hey, at the end of the night, can you help me do the dishes and put the food away or whatnot, like while the kids are playing or before we go to bed. So that way, like you said, when I go to bed at night, I'm not doing, everything. And you are in like the thick of like washing bottles and like taking care of it. Like you are constantly doing a million bottles. And I remember during those days, if I see another gosh darn dirty bottle in the sink, I'm going to lose my mind. So sometimes it's like, just please, for the life of just love of goodness, just do that for me, please, because I'm going to have a mental breakdown if I see another bottle or another breast pump part or like that was always a huge struggle for me, was all of the work that came with nursing. And I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was amazing that I was able to do it because I struggled significantly, but like that mental load that it took too. And so like off limits, like don't touch my boobs. Nope. Not like I'm not going to be leaking milk. We're not doing that. Like,
right.
like, nope.
And then you have some people, like, I think you're probably the majority, Becca, who's like, yeah, totally off limits. But then you have some people that are like, oh yeah, they're more sensitive now.
Oh gosh, no.
I get
No.
pleasure from that. I know
No.
I can't vision it either, but
I can't. I would like wear, and I hope my family's not listening because they have been so supportive with this podcast, but they probably are. But I would like wear a bra all the time for like, in like the nursing bras, the comfy ones, not like anything. And I swear I went to bed with one even for almost like the duration of the time that I nursed, I feel like, which was a year, just over a year. Maybe not, I can't remember quite as much with Cal because he was more like exclusively pumped, where Thea was opposite and she would only nurse. She wouldn't take a bottle or a sippy cup. We tried all the things. I'm sure there's more we could have tried, but we did what we could at the time. So it was, yeah, that's one thing that I remember. And then it's like, I'm done nursing and now I got nothing left. Like yeah, I wasn't one of those moms who everyone's like, oh, I still have these giant boobs that like blah, 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 and I can't get rid of them or whatnot. I was opposite. It was like, I got nothing there. And it's just, it is what it is now. So like,
totally. I relate to everything you just said. My children are the same. My first was pretty much exclusively pumped, and my second is nursing. And, it takes a lot. I don't have anything to add to that because it's just real. That's just real, like, postpartum stuff. And even the mamas who are using formula and bottles and things, it's never like this perfect feeding world. I feel like feeding is such a huge challenge.
it
It's like,
is.
oh, and then you're dealing with other stuff, like maybe your baby's spitting up a lot, or maybe then you have all the bottles to wash, or then you have to think about all of these things. It doesn't matter how you choose to feed them. It's like this mental load. It's still a physical challenge. I thought once I stopped pumping that I would have, in some ways it is easier now for me, right? Like I don't have to focus on remembering to wear a pumping bra all day or something.
Yeah. Yeah. The
But
things that, yeah.
yeah, but like actually, this just happened yesterday. I went to pick up my daughter from school, and I had, washed and brushed out my hair just like this, down in a bob. And the teacher was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't recognize you. Like, did you get your hair cut?" And it was like that subliminal shade of like, wow, you come here looking a hot mess usually
Every
Cheryl,
day. Yeah.
every day, and like you're a new person. And I'm like, no, I actually just got a chance to wash my hair. She was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't feel good in myself when it's my reality. Like I'm always in sweats, a bra or half naked, and a mom bun. But that doesn't really put me in the mood for connecting with sex. Like I've spilled milk, I smell disgusting. And even my husband now, I'm going to say personal, but then I also had a client that went through this is that, sometimes I'm like, my daughter will tell him, she's like, Daddy, you stink. He was like, well, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't even have time to take a shower today. What do you want me to do? And then I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Go get a shower. Like, I'll watch the kids he
Yeah.
takes too long of showers. So that's the thing. Like, I have been trained. I think a lot of moms have been trained to
Oh
take
my
like a
gosh. Yeah.
5-minute shower.
Yep. Yep.
And dads are like, well, we need an hour in the bathroom. I'm like,
It
no,
like
you don't.
switches
Just get
almost
in, get
sometimes,
clean.
right? It
It
like
does.
switches.
It
Like
does.
motherhood comes around and all of a sudden those like 5-minute showers that men take are now like 15, 20 minutes. And like the 20-minute showers that women take are now like, I haven't shaved my legs in 3 months. Sorry. Like I can
Right.
take 5 minutes. And at that point, my youngest is in the toilet and the other one's got the toilet paper. Not really. This has never happened. But like you're trying to survive.
Oh, my daughter, I thought it was a great idea when my daughter was like around 1.5 to put her at the sink and let her play with her little people in the sink.
In the sink. Yeah.
And yeah, and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm taking an awesome shower. Like, she's so distracted. Let me go get dressed real quick now and take
Yeah.
advantage of this time. I came back and there was water
Oh yeah.
everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I will never do that again. That wasn't the greatest idea.
I'm not gonna lie, I do that. I used to do that with Cal all the time, and even now sometimes I will, like if I take one. But it's hard because usually now the other one, Thea used to be such a daddy's girl, and now she's like, I'm mama baby. I'm mama's baby. I'm like, you're both of our
Aw.
babies. Like, don't be doing that. So they just take turns. It's just phases, But the crazyhood of motherhood and trying to find time for yourself, but then also trying to find time for yourself and your partner. So if you are someone too who's like, I don't have a sitter, I can't get out of the house, how can I, like, what can we do? And I feel like you're so good at this part too. Is like having dates at home, or like you already said, like watch
I
a
have
show
a lot of
together,
tips for
or
that.
you know, I know you're just a wealth of knowledge.
Well, it's because I am in this too. So I'm like, oh, let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you, girl, what I do. Like,
Yeah,
I love, I was going to say, I love coaching because it's different than therapy, right? Like, I don't have to be this authority figure that just sits there and listens. And, I'm in therapy, so it's great. And I definitely recommend for everybody. But as a coach, I get to be kind of like bestie vibes of like, oh girl, let's talk about that. Like,
yeah.
I'm like the group chat that, you get to spill all the tea to, but you get the evidence-based information. So that's why I just love giving all the tips and all the things. But yes, so for me, I'm better now with my second one, but with my first daughter, I had the most terrible anxiety ever. Like, it was both of us. Now looking back, I know it was me too, but I thought like she could not live without me.
Yeah, it's
She
real.
would not let anybody hold her, not even her dad. Like, we thought she
Mm-hmm.
literally hated him for months. And he would come home from work trying to be helpful
Mm-hmm.
and she would lose her mind. Like,
You are explaining our son to a T. It was like me and my mom were the only two people who could ever hold this child until he was like 6 months old.
yes. Well, it lasted longer for us. It did. Well, I'm sure you still went through things, but
We did, yeah.
yeah, and it was so hard. So we had to try to figure out like, okay, I didn't feel comfortable leaving her then if she was going to act like that with somebody else. Like with my husband, I could feel like, okay, well, girl, that's your dad. Like, you have to spend 30 minutes with him, and if you cry, you cry. Like, I'm going to take my shower. But, but that's just what it was. But, I didn't really feel comfortable leaving her like that with the grandparents or
Yeah, it's really hard.
a sitter that I don't really know or feel comfortable with. And by the time I did try a sitter, I thought we were at a good place, but I tried somebody who was in high school, and maybe
Ooh,
that was my bad on my part, knowing how my daughter was. But I'm like, yeah, I just need you to watch her for an hour in the park. Take her for a walk, give her snacks, put her on a blanket, play with her. I thought this was simple enough, right? I'm like, that's all you have to do. I left only to go to my car to answer some emails for that hour. And she texts me not even 5 minutes later, like, oh, did she take a pacifier? She won't stop crying.
Oh no. Oh
And I was like,
no.
oh my God. I was like, so I just went back. I'm like, I'm sorry, this isn't going to work. Like, so I
Yeah.
learned the really hard ways of like, how can I get space from my kid? And so we didn't do all of the like, oh, get a sitter for a long, long time. We still really don't. So that's why I love like date nights in, like you were starting to say, like watch a show together, or we did a paint night at home before,
Oh,
and
okay.
we have a five. Yeah, it was so fun. We have a Five Below near us that I go to for like kids crafts
Yeah,
and
they
fun
are
stuff.
amazing. Yeah.
They're great. And I bought the kits for us. Like I bought two $5 kits, like the canvases with the paint and the oil stuff. And then we did those one night together. Like he does one and I do one, and we had some wine and some food. Or you could order in, is a favorite one of mine, or cook together. We've played at home date nights like Chopped. I don't know if anybody watches that cooking show,
Okay.
but
Yep.
essentially you have to like find random ingredients and make something out of it. So we do that in our house. Like, if we're low on groceries or something, okay, like who can make the better meal with the ingredients? I don't know. And if you're newly postpartum, you probably feel like doing none of that. But it's just thinking of like what you would enjoy doing and how can you do it for free. Family walks are great.
Yeah,
Throw the kids
especially getting
into a
outside.
stroller, get outside. I don't care what temperature it is, bundle up, go get
Ooh,
some fresh
I
air.
I cannot do the cold.
You can't. Oh no.
No. I'm so glad I had summer babies because especially early on, I do not do the cold.
Don't you live in a cold climate,
I
Becca?
do. I live in Michigan. We we just hit like the fall too, where it's like 50s, and my kids wanted to go in the backyard. And our backyard's like people can judge if they want, but like you can't get into our backyard. And we know both neighbors, and like they weren't home, and like our dog goes out there with them, and it's a small area. And I watch from the window, and they're like, "Come on, mommy." I'm like, "Mm-mm, you're gonna learn real quick. Mommy does not do the cold."
That's so funny. I used to be like that, but I read something that talked about people in Norway that
Oh
it's
my
just cold
gosh,
all of the
it
time.
is.
And so they just had to adapt to like living your life. And I was like, oh my God, no, I can
I
never.
know.
But after I read that, I was like, you know what? I think I can do it. I think I could bundle up and
Oh
go live
no.
my life outside.
My dad always talks about Norway, especially with the babies, and how like when the women go into like stores and stuff, all the babies are just outside in the strollers, like completely bundled up, except like the little nose is sticking out so they can breathe. But like they just leave the
Yes.
babies outside, like just bundled to a T. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Don't get me wrong, I will bundle up and go outside, but the last couple nights or when we've done stuff, I've been like, it's time for dinner. I'm cooking dinner while I watch you because our window in the kitchen goes right to the backyard, right where they play. So, and I always open it too, even if it's cold, so I can hear even better what's going on. But yeah, I don't do the cold. Not a fan.
Well,
We
that last tip isn't for you.
yeah, it's not. It's not. But it is nice to get out there and get fresh air, especially if you're in the house all the time with a newborn and you're just like, I just need a different scenery, or I just need, a change of pace. Sometimes even going for a drive is nice to just sit in the car and just relax. Let the baby, hopefully your baby will sleep in the car or like not scream the whole time because you go through that phase too. But especially we'll be getting into the holiday season too, Christmas lights, those types of things.
We're doing something really fun right now, and we're doing spooky drives. So
Ooh.
spooky walks and spooky drives. And every morning when I take my daughter to school, we're like, oh, look for the spooky ooky stuff. What do you see? And we'll see like ghosts people have out. And she's like, it's too scary. And then we have like pumpkins and fun stuff right now.
That is
But I
so
love that.
fun.
Yeah, the lights and the
Yeah.
fall stuff. I'm living for this.
Yes, my son is like, we need to decorate our house. And in my head, I'm like, shoot, I will decorate Christmas, but I've never been the one to have like decorations in my house and like change the decorations and stuff. One of my friends and used to be my boss's wife is like the most amazing like creative person, and she does her house, and she's just amazing. And I joked, I sent her a picture. I was like, Cal just told me I need to start decorating my house. So I think I need to channel my inner, my inner you. I'm going to need some tips and tricks, please, because this is so out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, I'm not that mom either. And my daughter asked me this morning, she was like, can we put some spider webs on our house? And I was like trying to think of a way to get out of this without, I
Yeah.
might tell her, I might tell her I just read something that animals could get trapped in it. And she's so compassionate. Maybe that will like steer her
I
away from
just
it.
told
But
Cal
no.
it was too late. I'm like, oh, buddy, it's too late this year, but maybe next year.
And then maybe the next year, and then maybe next year.
But they both have a pumpkin on the step. We didn't do carvings, but they colored them. Maybe we'll still do carvings. And then he actually has a ghost costume that he wanted last year that he actually didn't want because he didn't like it over his face and stuff. So that's, those like Fisher Price basketball hoops. He has it hanging on, like I put it over a Fisher Price basketball hoop, so it looks like there's a ghost on our step. I'm like, that's the extent of what this mama can do. At least this year. We'll talk. We'll reconvene next year. But yeah, all great stuff. You have your Parent Pleasure Academy that is open right now. Do you want to tell us about that?
I do. This is my baby. My babies are my baby, but this is also like really something special to me. The Parent Pleasure Academy, it's an online course and community, and it is geared specifically for postpartum parents going through all of this stuff that we're talking about and in the thick of ourselves.
Yes.
And it's really meant to serve as a lot of resources, a lot of help for talking about intimacy, communication, sex. Like, what do you do when, okay, great, you did all the things we just said, the communication, you talked about what you want to do, you found time, you got the sitter, and then you go to have sex and it hurts. Like, what do you do then, right? Well, you call Becca one because she's a pelvic floor therapist. But, what else do you do? How do you navigate those challenges? And how do you find a plan that works for you specifically, not just the general advice that's thrown into like random mom groups, which is a pet peeve of mine. People give terrible advice.
It is.
It's so bad. And so I just want to, again, serve as that like postpartum bestie that will give you the real tips and tricks that are going to help you, not just put a Band-Aid on these issues, not just cover it up and fix it for now. No, how do you actually transform your life into having pleasure every day in the simple, small moments? How do you add it in right now and feel good about yourself and know that this isn't just for other people, right? I made this for mostly my birthing people, my women, my moms, my everybody who is experiencing the joys and challenges of trying to conceive pregnancy and postpartum. And that's what it is. And that's what I want to do. I have lots of different modules and workbooks and resources in there.
I love that. And so also when this airs, it's going to be your birthday. So happy birthday. So you are having a deal for it today, and we'll have the information in the show notes. And then you have to get into the Parent Pleasure Academy like ASAP because she's closing the doors within the next day or two, I believe, right? So make sure you check that out. Yeah.
I'm honestly only extending it for your group, Becca, because you and your audience are special to me because I was going to close it on my birthday, but I want people to get the opportunity to listen to this and get in. So I'll be closing doors October 25th, but the deal is only today. If you use Becca's code, I will give you 32% off for my 32nd birthday. Join me because it's fun. I have some parents in there already, and we have a private group. You can ask anonymous questions if you're not into sharing your whole sex life online, or you could do coaching or ask me. There's lots of ways to get involved. So check it out.
I love that. And I'm so excited for you. So if you are a postpartum mama and you have been looking for some ways to feel reconnected or more like yourself because it's so hard, make sure you go check that out in the show notes. Is there anything else you want to share before we say our goodbyes?
I just want to leave you all with, remember to focus on you. this is such a challenging time, and I think there's so many expectations put on parents that it's like, oh, you have to do all of the things, and we just spent however long talking about this, but you don't have to. You deserve the time to soak this up with your baby, with your little ones, with your partner, with yourself, and just remember to prioritize you even when it feels impossible. And that's what I want to leave people with is really knowing that you deserve that. And if people are not with that, then they, we have to talk. We have to talk if people are not supporting you right now, because it's essential. You have to fill your own cup up first.
Absolutely. You matter, mama. You matter, not just the babies, not just your partner. You do too. And so trying to find time for yourself is really hard, but Kaci does a really good job about making it practical and easy to implement into your day so you can make these changes to really feel good. So I'm really excited for that. I think that is all we have for today. So thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions for Kaci, you can go, she is Sex Coach Kaci, Kaci, and that is on socials like Instagram and her website as well. So go ahead and check her out, ask her questions. She's wonderful. And I'm so lucky that we had her here today. So thanks, Kaci.
Thank you so much.
Nothing is TMI when it comes to motherhood, and common doesn't necessarily mean normal. Always trust your gut and never stop advocating for the care you deserve. If you enjoyed this podcast, help it reach more mamas like you by subscribing and leaving a review on your preferred listening platform. Keep in touch with me on Instagram by following Pelvic Floor Mama. See you next time.